Good evening. This is Simply Frank, and I'm Frank. Couple of months before the D-Day, 13th of August, when this country goes, to the polls, a lot of governance issues are at stake. Economic issues, social issues, and of course, issues pertaining to women. Women, in terms of numbers, there are more voters of women. But do they actually get a good treat? Do they get the justice that they deserve? I've always said, this. Anybody who brings life on earth must be respected. So I've got amazing respect for women. Tonight, on Simply Frank, we look at some of the issues related to governance, related to women. My guest on this program is MBEWE, ANAMELA, Executive Director of NGOCC. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me.
We're very pleased at BMTV because I've done, I think, about 5 in an edition. If I'm not mistaken, this is the 5th edition. And this is the first time we're featuring a woman.
Really? In 5?
Yes.
That's great.
We're delighted.
That should have been earlier.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What is the starting point? I think the starting point is the Women's Day, which was held recently. The theme was rights to justice, action for all women and girls. Let's start from the theme. How significant is the theme?
The theme is very significant in that while we know that rights and issues of justice are for everybody, we have had experiences as women where there has been need to focus on women generally, focus on women, particularly because of some of the injustices that women have faced. I'll give you an example. When it comes to gender-based violence, about 75% of those that are victims of or survivors are actually women. So there are some specific issues that really are particular to women that require us to look at a theme such as this. And even when we look at women's participation in leadership, we find that there's a very big gap between the two, men and women. So there must be some action that we should take in order to ensure that some injustices are done away with.
Could you elaborate more injustices, that, women, face? You talked about gender violence, which really is, on the increase. Any more key injustices, that are facing women?
Yes, I mean, we can even just go back to the issues of patriarchy. And patriarchy is at a basic level. It's at a personal level. We see a lot of patriarchal tendencies in the way we live, as communities. For example, we have had in the past, and even now in some areas, maybe even with this free education, where if there's a choice in the household as to who should go to school and who should remain, for instance, to take care of a sick patient or something, the decision will usually be the girl. And that's an injustice because everybody has a right to go to school. But sometimes when it comes to certain household decisions, there is an injustice. Other things that we found in our work with women, even around the management of economic affairs at household levels, is that it is always said that women have access to land. Yes, women have access to land, but they don't have access to ownership of land. And how that access is that the husband perhaps may have a piece of land, because even traditional leaders have had, it's been a tradition to hand over land to the male in the family. We know also, for example, where I come from Eastern Province, the tradition is that if my father were to die, whatever he has would be handed to the nephew, who is my father's sister's child. So while women could have access because they're required to go into the field and to cultivate, when it comes to decisions around what we're going to grow, how we're going to dispose of it, especially if there's some income, it's the men that make the decisions. And sometimes the women do not even know where the resources go after that. So even just the fact that women don't have ownership of land is an injustice in itself, because they actually work the land and they're actual producers. So there are a number of injustices that we could talk about that affect women. And that's why it's good to look at this issue of justice for women.
The key question, who is to blame? Is it the government? Is it the cultural situation, that you have made, reference to? And if I may extend, that, question to laws, that are made by the government in terms of parity. International organizations make so many laws. Unfortunately, these laws are not domesticated. Why? Is this one of the major reasons? And then coupled by cultural norms.
Okay, that's it's quite a loaded question. And I would say we're all to blame. It's the cultural norms and practices. It's some of the governance issues as well. So there's systemic barriers, the issues to do with laws, the issues to do with just practice. So when I talk about, when I say we're all to blame, at a personal level, it's these issues of patriarchy, norms, beliefs, attitudes, and practices. Even the practice of taking a 13-year-old girl into a marriage because as a family you want an income, whether the lobola, whatever the lobola will bring. That's it's a cultural norm. It's a practice in some traditions, and even just the belief that a woman cannot lead, that men make better leaders. That's it's a belief system. So these things are entrenched, and they're entrenched because we are socialized to think a certain way. Not too long ago, we had the Jelita and Mulenga books. If you recall, you're of the age that would recall, like me, where Jelita would get home and would be washing and sweeping, while Mulenga would be out there playing football. Play is a right for every child because it develops the child's mental faculties. But these traditions and cultural beliefs have socialized us in a certain way. Then you talked about, is it also government's fault? To a certain extent, yes. And you've mentioned some of the international protocols to which we're signatories. We're signatory to the CEDAW, the Convention Against the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. We are signatory to the SADC Protocol on Gender. There are many protocols that international protocols that we're signatory to that should, if we're to implement them fully, ensure that we have gender parity. For example, even when it comes to leadership, some of these protocols, like the SADC Gender Protocol, actually guides us that in any leadership position, we should strive to have 50% women, 50% men. We have a constitution which actually has a clause which says any appointing authority, when appointing to public office, must consider both genders. But it has a clawback clause where it says where practicable to do so. Why wouldn't it be practicable to have 50% women and 50% men? We are women form more than 50% of the population. So if the law says this is what you should do, why should it not be practicable? Are we saying that there are no women that would make up the other 50%? Where is this matter of practicability coming? So there are there are barriers that are very basic around our traditional norms, cultural practices. But then there are some that are actually systemic. Some have to do with our non-implementation, even of legal frameworks that we have in place. We've got the National Gender Policy. We've got the Gender Equity and Equality Act. All those are in place. So why do we see 4 women in cabinet out of a cabinet of 25?
Tell me,
for example.
Tell me, the situation is really embarrassingly different when you compare this country into Rwanda, for example. Namibia, president, is a woman. I think the secretary general is a woman. I think minister of finance, about 4 top jobs belong to women. Okay, they didn't need to put laws in place. How did they get it right? And we have failed to get it right.
It's political will. Some of these positions you've spoken about are appointed positions. So the appointing officer has recognized the capacity that women have and has appointed women in these positions. So it's about political will. If I were a leader, for example, and I determined that I would allocate positions according to the qualifications and the capacities and capabilities that people have, then I should be looking at both women and men. And if I decided that from what I have seen over the years, women have been disadvantaged, I would make a deliberate decision to ensure that I try and correct this by bringing in more women. So this is why I say it's political will. It depends. The women are there, but they have to be recognized. Yes, I know that a lot of people who say women should just bring themselves to the table. It works sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't. For instance, why hasn't it worked here? Why has it worked in Rwanda? Why has it worked in Namibia? So it's the will to make a difference and to make this change. And this is why we say sometimes it's not about the laws, it's the implementation of the laws. And then sometimes there may be no laws. Like, for example, in South Africa, the zebra system, where a political party has a political party list, even I think this also was so in Namibia. So if the first person on that list is a man, the second one will be a woman, the third one will be a man, just like that, ensuring that it's 50-50, and that when that political party then wins an elections, that's how the positions will be. There was no law. It was the ANC that decided that's what they were going to do. The other parties followed. So it's a decision. I think it's a decision.
You have the vice president, who is a female. You have a speaker, who is a female. Did you expect more? And I'm talking about NGOCC and other women affiliated organizations. Did you expect more from these 2 highly ranked women to speak more for the women, so that the numbers rise?
It's always our expectation that when we lift one woman, that woman will lift others. It's always our expectation. And why we have that expectation is because we're still not there when it comes to gender parity. So certain things have to be done in order to ensure that more women come into different leadership positions. So really, yes, we would like that anybody that is in a position of leadership should be able to speak for the women and should be able to the biggest extent possible, try to ensure that they get more women into leadership positions as well. Would expect that of any woman in leadership.
This government came up with Bill 7, which now is Act 13 of 2025. And the clarion call from the government was, we doing this for women, to increase the number of women, the youths, and the physically challenged. Do you believe, that the government was really honest about, this? Did it need a law of this nature to ensure that the numbers are raised? I said this, because the system, the government system, appointing system, has 10 positions, for example, of nominated. you can nominate, 10.
Yes.
Even without that, you can still put, women in position of high, numbers. Could you comment, on that?
Well, there are two aspects to this. We spoke earlier about the international protocols to which we're party to, which give us guidance on how we can reach gender parity. I spoke to the fact that even our constitution, has clauses that talk about equal rights for men and women, even in appointments. And I also referred to our cultural norms and practices and all that. So when you are in a situation where there is no gender parity, affirmative action in different ways is welcome. Like we had, a lower pass rate for girls, to show, So affirmative action is welcome. But where you have laws that exist and are not implemented, and then you bring in more, is it about the lack of the laws or is it about the implementation? It's about the implementation. And then yes, we welcome affirmative action because, as I said, we're not yet there and we need it. But sometimes that affirmative action, in fact, at all times, it needs to be meaningful in addressing the challenge or the problem that we've identified. Law is about addressing something. Right now, we have 14% women parliamentarians and about 7.8 women at local government level. If we look at the amended constitution, those numbers, that 20, last time I calculated it, compared to the total number of parliamentary seats that we're going to have, translates into 8%. And already, as I sit here, we are seeing situations where some women are being turned back in their political parties, from nomination from the other contestable seats because they have a quota. Now, if, for instance, only those 20 were to go into parliament, we would be at 8%. Have we made a significant move? The gatekeepers of women's participation in parliament and at local government are the political parties. It is the political parties that nominate women, for election. So whether we have that 20%, that number of 20, if the political parties do not nominate the correct number of women and in the correct places, I'm going to explain later why I say the correct places, we will not have solved the issue. If we were really, really interested in raising the numbers, we should have looked at the proportion. It's not about numbers only, it's the proportion. So 8% of the total numbers,
it's embarrassing.
That's a drop in the ocean.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Let's talk about the political parties. Would it have helped if political parties were compelled to have a higher number, of women?
Indeed. And as NGOCC, we actually have been advocating for the political parties law. There was a bill. There's been a bill around sitting somewhere. And governments, as they come and go, opposition altogether have resisted that bill coming into law for various reasons, and we suspect and have heard from political parties that it's about this issue of accountability, for sources of resources. So, but when you look, we've had a look at that bill. That bill, when it comes to inclusion, is very, very progressive. What we need is actually a bill or a law that will compel political parties to nominate 50-50. Firstly, in their own intra-party politics. Because that's where the decisions are made. And this is why we are seeing fewer women being nominated, because the people that are in the hierarchy are mostly men, the intra-party hierarchies. So we need a law that will look at the intra-party hierarchies and a law that will also address this issue of equal nomination when it comes to the political office. But for that to work, there has to be an oversight body that will ensure that if this is not done, then there should be something that will block those political parties from going further. And here I'm talking about, for example, the Electoral Commission of Zambia. They could be mandated to receive, they're already mandated to receive nominations, but they could be given extra authority to reject nominations from political parties that do not follow the law, if that law were in place. So, as I said, when you have not reached a point of parity and you still have these issues of patriarchy and all, the thing to do is to sometimes try and ensure that these things are embedded in law. Eventually, as you come to a situation where the country is accepting of these of the issues of inclusion, where it becomes the norm, then sometimes you don't even need these laws. But when you're not there, sometimes you might need them to help you get there.
Tell me, you deal with a number of women, as far as these challenges are concerned. What are the women, themselves, saying to you? What are the major, challenges? And in saying so, what about the men, the husbands? Some of these women, are married. What are their husbands, saying? Are they encouraging, them? Because it really also starts from there.
Okay, we haven't spoken to the husbands. But we do speak to the women in politics. We actually have monthly gatherings at NGOCC of women in politics from all the different political parties. And the challenges that they face, one, the same patriarchy. Some of them are totally discouraged by their families from standing. For some, it's really basic. It's a belief that it's a man's world and it's men that should lead. For others, there are certain fears like, look, we hear that politics is dirty, or you're going to get yourself dirty. These are some of the things they experienced at their family level. When they get past that hurdle, other issues they experience which they've told us, one is sextortion. They say within political parties, women are asked for sexual favors for them to be adopted and, to rise. And so that's another thing that discourages women, because they really do not want to have to go through that. And as I said, women have a right to participate. Why should they be subject to those? Another challenge that they experience is resources. Politics are very, very expensive. You may have heard of a study done by Transparency International Zambia a few years ago, where they found that on average, successful participation, for instance, for a member of parliament position, in terms of resource, the resources they used was 3.5 million. And also studies show us that women are not as economically empowered as men. So that excludes women. You see, and then of course the systemic barriers within the political parties, where they prefer to nominate women. And some of the reasons that we've heard political parties say, what drives the preference for men is that women sometimes don't have the resources. So if they don't have the resources, and they face extortion, they face family barriers, that all those challenges exclude women. And then there's this, the violence as well, violence against women. Sometimes it's technologically facilitated violence. Sometimes it's wherever there's physical violence, women don't want to be there. And right now, I think one of the major hindrances is the technologically facilitated violence, the Facebooks, the social media issues. Women just say we don't want to go out there. Sometimes they write blatant lies about us, and then women are judged differently. A woman will comment on something, and people will get personal. A man will comment on something, and people might just even ignore it or comment from a more objective perspective. So women face a lot of challenges, that disadvantage.
We're going to ask the elections. What support, do women who are getting into politics who understand, what expectations, are there, from NGOCC?
There are quite a number of expectations. One of the things that we've been doing in the last almost 3 years now is that we started training women around public speaking, campaign strategy, just to to get them ready. And also we've developed and this training, the women we train come from a database that we have put together of all the women that want to stand at different levels, those that have come forward, of course. And we also work on this together with the Local Government Association of Zambia, because they too are working with women at local government. So it's about, I think, preparing them also in terms of their image, their imaging. And what we've done in the past is also provided support around campaign material, basic campaign materials, a few posters here, a few T-shirts, and time on radio for them to go and profile themselves, and also profiling in maybe in the media. The challenge they also come with, to us, is the financial resources and other logistical resources. That has been a challenge for us to support, because we've been largely donor funded, and the donor funds come with guidelines and certain restrictions where, for instance, we could only do posters. But what the women need is logistical support when they're out there in the fields campaigning. They need fuel. And the politics of Zambia are what they are. If they have people that are campaigning for them, those people need to eat. Sometimes they might need a bicycle to go around, So that's the type of support that they would like. And we've been restricted as NGOCC because we are donor dependent, and that is, and it comes with restrictions. So what we've done now is we have launched, we have a campaign going on right now. Our Time Is Now campaign, and it includes all these things around training. It also includes around sensitizing. It includes sensitizing communities around why it's important for women to participate as well. So there's education and sensitization going on. But we've also launched what we call a donation button. And that donation button is a call to people like you and I and everybody out there who's watching to make a donation towards a fund that we have set up with the women in politics. It's not just NGOCC. We've set it up with the women in politics, where we would like to develop a fund that we can use to help women as they go out. For example, fees for the nomination fees or any logistical support. So I can talk about how people can donate to that.
Please.
So there is you can go to the NGOCC website, which is www.ngocc.org.zm. And when you go onto that website, an immediate prompt comes up if you want to donate, and you just follow that prompt, and it will lead you to how to donate. Then from about midnight today, we're going to have a USSD code under *115#, and then option 4, and then you can follow that. So and that's of course on your phone, *115. So I would urge anybody who has any amount, doesn't matter whether it's a 10 kwacha, it will go towards helping women. The women are there. We've got a database of over 500 women, but they need resources. And we are ready as NGOCC to work with the women in politics to manage those resources so that women, can, get the help they need for them to participate in the elections.
I'll be talking about the girl child, very shortly. But since we're talking about women in politics and those who want to stand in August, some terrible stories, Miss ANAMELA, we hear, women being asked for sex before they're adopted. How do you deal with that?
That is terrible, but we have a way now. We actually are working with Childline Lifeline and with the support of UNFPA, where we have some toll-free numbers that women can call whenever they experience sextortion of any kind or any advances of that nature. So the numbers are 933 and 116. And then there is another number which is managed by the Gender Division, which is 944. So I would urge any woman in politics or any woman whatsoever that has experienced GBV. But now, as we go into elections, particularly, any woman who finds themselves in a position where they're trying to be where somebody is coercing them for sexual favors in order to nominate them for parliamentary positions or local government positions, you are free to report the matter by calling 116 or 933 or 944. Those calls are going to be dealt with confidentially.
Yeah.
However, should we go for prosecution, should you want to go for prosecution, of course, we'll have to follow the procedures. And we're going to link those numbers to law enforcement agencies as appropriate. So I'd encourage women, for us to stop this, we have to speak out and we have to report these matters. For as long as we do not report them and we suffer silently, nothing will be done. So women in politics, please, 933, 944 and 116 are the numbers to call should you experience any sexual advances against you for you to be nominated.
Let's go to the girl child. And I have a daughter, but she's a grown-up, married woman now. When she was growing, and I was a single parent, I was very, worried what could befall her, out, there. Thank God, she didn't experience what, a number of young people are experiencing today, sexual abuse, even to children. How did we arrive at that as a nation, as a Christian nation?
I think it's moral degradation. Maybe also exposure to the world, the global, we're now a global world. I mean, anybody now has access to information from anywhere around the world. And maybe we're learning the good things and the bad things. And it could also be that people are more readily able to talk about these things. Because I think issues of incest and some of these things that we see were happening even before. But they were kept within families. It was almost a family secret. We cannot talk about Uncle so-and-so having done this. It ends in the family. But now with sensitization, and then also sensitization must go with the assurance that once these matters are reported, something will be done about it. And because we now have, for instance, the Victim Support Unit, we have the GBV Fast Track Courts, people know that there is recourse, and that something will be done about this. So it's about people becoming aware that this is wrong.
Yeah.
Child marriage was a normal thing until we began to talk about it. Let the girl child, have the opportunity to go as far as they can go before they get married. Let them be of an age where they can make a decision whether they are ready to start a family, whether they want to get married. So with sensitization over time also has exposed these things. They were happening before, but they could be happening even more now.
Absolutely.
Because of also our exposure to the good and the bad out there.
Yeah. Talking about issues there like this, the president goes to parliament every year, talks about principles of life, values. Nothing much happens, after that, Miss ANAMELA. What would you like, to happen after, addresses like that?
What I'd like to happen after addresses like this is firstly self-reflection at individual level, but also a recognition of the different roles that different institutions play around ensuring that we prevent some of these, very terrible vices that we're seeing, like the rapes, the defilement, and even substance abuse. It calls for concerted efforts and collaboration of different institutions, starting from the institution of the household. what happens at household level? What values are being taught at household level? It's the churches, it's the schools, it's the communities in general. It's also very difficult to manage, but even, for instance, at household level, how do we monitor what our children are watching?
Yeah.
How do we monitor what is happening? There are children that have been defiled for years and the parents don't know. How do we even sensitize that child to recognize, for instance, when a touch by uncle so-and-so is inappropriate? And this is not just happening to girls. Boys are being sodomized as well. You know, I have involvement in some orphans and vulnerable children programs where we find that even boys are being sodomized.
Yeah.
So it's not just about girls, but it's a concerted effort. You know, how does the church, the school, the household come together? And what is the role of government? The role of government is also facilitating, as I said, like the fast track courts, ensuring that we've got a working police response like the VSUs. So it needs concerted efforts and continuous dialogue and continuous learning in our responses of yesteryear. What worked? What didn't work? What lessons did we learn? And how can we then apply these as we go forward to... It's a big challenge.
Right. I'm sorry I'm a messenger of bad news for the time being. I'll find something good, in this, interview. Suicides are increasing.
Yes.
A young girl, who had high hopes, at school at Mulungushi University, committed suicide over a social, no problem. Then another young man died at University of Zambia. Are we not hearing? Are we not seeing the problems in advance before they happen?
This is why I think I was saying, some of these issues start at household level as well. I think as parents, as guardians, as sisters, as brothers, we need to be each other's keepers. We can't really totally blame families sometimes because there are times when you just don't see this coming.
Yeah.
But I think we should be more aware of each other, more engaging. I think social media has taken over. You get home, this one is having dinner in the bedroom, that one is having dinner in the TV room, that one is, we're not even sitting down together as a family. It's a good practice to get home and have a rule that all of us sit down and eat together and talk about what each person has experienced that day. In short,
we are not spending quality time together.
We are not. Phones, TV, and all that have taken over. We need to be more aware and more conscious of the person next to us. And then I think also as a country now, from a systemic perspective, we are not paying sufficient attention to mental health issues. Some of the people, I think, who may have unfortunately committed suicide, there are people who say, on hindsight, we should have seen this coming.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think let's be more attentive, but we should invest in mental health. Mental health, and find a way where we can have mental health services going to schools, to tertiary education, even in churches we have counseling departments. But I think let's also invest more in mental health. But more importantly, let's be our brother's keeper, our sister's keeper. And it's also, I think, sometimes unfair to blame a family because, they grieve when families grieve when these things happen. And they should never feel that they're to blame. But I think let's pay attention and spend quality time.
Right. We're going towards the elections. Do you feel Bill of Rights should have been considered? Again, it failed the last time. Is Bill of Rights the answer, to some of the major, issues we've, talked about, which are being experienced by mostly women?
It certainly is. And as NGOCC, we have been advocating for the expanded Bill of Rights, because that would take care even some of the social rights that we're talking about. So indeed, the expanded Bill of Rights is something that should have been considered, and we are hoping and praying that then when the next government comes in, whoever is coming in now, if it's this continuing or if it's a new one, it should be one of the first things that should be considered, the expanded Bill of Rights.
Right. Okay, let's talk about something,
more positive.
With a smile, more positive. The women in the private institutions have made headways, especially in the financial world. We got a female, CEO at APSA, FNB, Zanaco, pension fund, I mean,
the National Building Society.
How do you explain this?
First and foremost, I explain it by just saying that we have capable women. We have very, very capable women everywhere. And these institutions have been open enough to recognize that we have capable women who can step into those positions and who do make a difference. So the financial sector has led the way. Also, the judiciary.
Yes.
The judiciary is very well gender balanced, and I think even more women judges, if I'm not mistaken. So some sectors have begun to look at performance, not on whether it's a person, it's a woman or a man, but basically competence. And that's where we need to arrive at. Government and other private sector must look at competence and not whether a person is a woman or a man. And kudos to the financial sector, kudos to the judiciary for that.
Let me blow my trumpet also. Here at BMTV, we have a woman who is our director here.
Great.
Right.
That's great.
Let's talk about the economy. The economy in terms of numbers, everything is positive. But the cost of living is extremely high. The victims of this are mostly women. The government has tried economic empowerment through CDF. What else do you expect to at least cushion the challenges, economic and social challenges, especially women are facing today?
The sad thing about having beautiful macroeconomic indicators, moving positively, is that sometimes it takes time for it to trickle down. But it may also need deliberate steps to ensure that it trickles down. For example, a deliberate step like has been taken now, a proactive step when it comes to the anticipated and already happening fuel crisis. The step of removing tax. It's important that government analyzes what negatively affects the vulnerable and takes measures there. For example, VAT. Which commodities should be subject to VAT? Which ones should not? Simple example, even around period poverty for girls. I'm not sure yet whether VAT has been removed, but that is an essential thing for girls. And you could remove VAT. And even and I know that now, after years of us as NGOCC and other organizations advocating for, the distribution of sanitary towels in schools, it is happening. It could be better, but it has started. So we need an analysis around what issues affect the most vulnerable. For example, the majority of subsistence farmers are women. And we as NGOCC have had persistent complaints from the women around how FISIP is administered. They say when it's administered at household level, it is the man's name that is registered. The inputs go to the man, and God knows sometimes how they disappear. How can we avert such things happening? How do we target that vulnerable woman in such a situation? So we need to analyze areas where we know that if we were to do this, we'd be able to impact a vulnerable youth or a vulnerable woman, a vulnerable person with disability. Regardless of what's happening at macroeconomic level, and we commend government for that, these gains must translate at local level. Which sectors are the most vulnerable involved in? What do we do to target them and ensure that we not only cushion them but also help them? You know, if it's farming for women, how do we get the inputs to the women? How do we ensure that they own land? One of the things that NGOCC has been doing is working with traditional leaders and encouraging them, and there have been fantastic responses to grant traditional land to women with a traditional title. And that is happening. Now they don't only have access, they have ownership.
Right.
In other words, even if if they were widowed or anything, they would still own that land. But now, what do they need to make that land productive, and how do we get it to them? How do we circumvent all these blockages? So that's what we need. An analysis. What are the blockages? How do we ensure that this advantage is trickling down to the most vulnerable?
Right. The government has introduced a 24-hour economy. When I was coming here, I went online and I saw a woman selling her wares at 2 in the morning. 2 in the morning. Is this the kind of 24-hour economy you want to embrace? And in saying so, what challenges do you see emanating from this 24-hour economy?
Well, the 24-hour economy is a good thing for economy, and it could spur economic growth. But again, we must be deliberate about the analysis. There you are talking about a woman sitting on the street
2 in the morning.
At 2 in the morning. What dangers does she face there? We've been talking about thuggery, with the issues around rape and things like that. How is she protected? And is she going to sit there the whole night? Or is she going to try and walk home at 3? I mean, there are challenges. Even just sitting up all night is a challenge on its own. Because during the day, there will be expectations on her as well. So even in the 24-hour economy, I think that's not what we want to see. A woman sitting up all night outside in the cold, selling tomato. What we want to see are, for example, women who are empowered. They have a shop that is in a well-lit area, in a well-secured area, where the law enforcement agencies are at hand to help if anything happens or to prevent anything happen. So in looking at that, what are the challenges? What are the dangers? What are the opportunities? All those must be analyzed so that the 24-hour economy works. It's a good thing. But we need to manage it, that certain, people in our society are not disadvantaged or unnecessarily, placed in the line of danger. Somebody had something on social media recently of a little girl who was selling something in a place where there were bars close by. I mean, that girl is vulnerable. So what do we need? What's the role, for instance, of community development, even in this 24-hour economy? What's the role of the police, And also, it's about building entrepreneurs and businesses that can work in that economy, that are managed by both men and women, but in a safe environment and enabling environment.
Let me combine, this question because of, time. Again, the elections, 13th of August, the opposition are in disarray. But at the same time, they're blaming the government, that the democratic, space has, narrowed. That's part of your submissions. And then the delivery of the elections, ECZ, being run by a woman, the opposition are wondering whether this lady can deliver a free and fair elections? Those two issues.
First and foremost, the issue of whether somebody succeeds or not is not because they're a woman or a man. There are a lot of men out there that have failed. But what happens is that when it's a woman and they fail, the first thing that is highlighted is that she's a woman. There are a lot of male failures out there.
Yeah.
Not every ministry runs very well. There are some that are running well, there are some that are not. And it's not about whether it's a man or a woman. So, if, for instance, the ECZ chairperson were to fail, it's not because she's a woman.
Yeah.
She's an individual first. Whether they'll be able to deliver, I think we're yet to see. We have had our own concerns as NGOCC. One of them has been the delimitation exercise. From the onset, we asked for transparency. We asked for the 2019 delimitation report. We asked that, there should be transparency and everybody should understand what is happening. And we also had concerns around the timing because we didn't want it to be rushed. So it's on us now. So what we need to do is I think as CSO, our role is to monitor what is happening, to speak out when there are injustices. What we would like to see again is transparency, is listening ear, is evidence that whatever submissions have been made around, for example, the delimitation, have come through, and they've come through from a wide sector of society, and that they have listened. Where elections are very sensitive everywhere in the world, and if there is any sign of suspicion, it's a recipe for anything. Yes. Yeah. So it's very important that things are done in a transparent manner, and that there is seen to be tolerance and a listening ear to what people are saying out there.
The confusion in the opposition.
The confusion in the opposition, only them as opposition can fix it. I think no matter how much we talk, it's about them. Yeah. They know what's at stake. So if they want to continue in the confusion, they will reap what they sow in that confusion. If they think the elections are important enough for them to get organized, they will get organized. So it's up to them.
You obviously want, as NGO, as representatives of the women, of the people, you'd like, women especially, women members of parliament, including, men, who are going to serve the women, the electorate, to the best of their ability. What message do you have for the electorate, especially the women who are majority, voters, to ensure, that they are voting for the right person who is going to represent them, who is a servant of the electorate?
Okay, the message I would have for the electorate out there is that who you elect is very important, because they represent you in parliament, they represent you at local government level. And what they should be taking as they represent you are your lived experiences and how your lives can be changed by what they do where they go to represent you. So what I would say is the first lesson we've learned is that you must vote on the basis of who you think will represent you. It's not about which political party they come from. It's not about whether they are men or whether they are women. But on the matter of women, I would like to say this. Nobody knows the lived experiences of women more than women themselves. Right now, there are very few female representatives in parliament and at local government level. And if we want the lived experiences, the experiences that I experience as a woman, the things that you experience as a woman, to be brought to fore when it comes to legislation, and you know, policy, we need to ensure that we have women in there to speak for us. And this is why, as NGOCC, we're asking the electorate to objectively look at those that will be standing and to ensure that we vote as many women into office as possible, so that they could speak about the issues that women experience, that we women experience, and ensure that as they speak about those, as they bring them, you know, into debates, that those matters are addressed, whether it's through the laws and through the policies, but we need women to sit at the table and also participate and be listened to in those conversations.
Before we close, 10 months, you know, down the line, the 6th president is still not Barrett. Your thoughts?
Oh, my thoughts on that. Any family would be very unhappy and uncomfortable with a situation where their loved one is not buried, you know, 10 months down the line. And any nation should feel the same, to have a former president not buried 10 months down the line. So the family, government, all of us as citizens should be really concerned about this issue. That was a former head of state. He was a husband. He was a father. He was a brother. He was a son. Everybody has a right to be buried respectfully and in dignity. And 7 months down the line, knowing our tradition of burial in 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, we should all be concerned and should do something about it.
After the 13th of August, what kind of a Zambian woman and the country at large do you expect?
After 13th of August, I expect 50% of the members of parliament to be women, 50% of the councillors to be women, 50% of the 50 or 60% of the mayors, chairpersons of the local councils to be women. And I would like to see a government that is inclusive. We have women, we have youth, and we have persons with disability, all adequately represented. Because as I said, it's about the lived experiences. Nobody can represent you more than you, the person that has lived that experience. So I would like to see an inclusive leadership. I would like to see a leadership that listens. I would like to see a leadership that is concerned about the well-being of everybody in this country, and that concern translates into what is done on a daily basis at every level.
Great. Sunday was the resurrection of the Messiah. When we leave this, studio and outside, you meet Jesus, outside. What kind of conversation?
Oh, I would thank him for dying for me on the cross of Calvary. I would thank him for the finished work on the cross, and I would thank him for saving me more than 30 years ago.
MBEWE, ANAMELA, thank you for appearing on my show.
Thank you for inviting me.
This has been Simply Frank. My guest has been MBEWE, ANAMELA, Executive Director of NGOCC. We talked about a number of issues. We leaned towards the issues pertaining to women, because a woman is extremely important. Let me tell you one thing. When I was married, every Sunday, church, from church, restaurant. If we don't have money, home, and I cook, because no woman should be in the kitchen on Sunday. And on that, we end the program for today. On behalf of my team here at BMTV, This has been Simply Frank. On behalf of my guest, MBEWE, ANAMELA, I'm Frank. Good night.